Welcome to the Daily Influence, where our mission is to deliver a daily dose of positive influence that can uplift you personally or be shared within your sphere of influence. While not every episode may directly apply to your unique circumstances, we strive to provide insights and inspiration relevant to most people's daily, weekly, and monthly lives. Whether you are tuning in during the morning, noon, or night, the Daily Influence is here for you. Listen, share, and embrace the power of influence in your life.
Welcome to the Daily Influence. I'm Gregg Koleno, your host. Thank you for making us a part of your routine. In this podcast, we explore the stories of amazing individuals who spread positivity and make a difference. Join us as we uncover the inspiration, challenges, and impact of their journeys. Today, I'm excited to bring to you one of my friends, Roxanne Parikh. Her career is in healthcare, and she also is an advocate for health and well-being. Roxanne, thank you for being here. Can you please share a little bit about yourself with our listeners?
Thanks so much, Greg. This is so awesome to be part of this experience with you. My name is Roxanne, as you mentioned, and I am a lady who has had a lot of experiences in life. And currently I'm married with 3 kids. I live in the northwest suburbs of Chicago and have really found a topic that is near and dear to my heart that I'm excited to share a little bit about it with you today.
Great. Well, I'm excited. So let's just jump right in, Roxanne. What inspired you to start spreading positivity and making a difference in the lives of others?
Oh, Greg, I think this is such a loaded question. And, you know, a lot of our mutual friends are probably really aware of one particular topic that I share often. But my experience with spreading positivity actually started at a young age. I would say that I've had a lot of life experiences. Some of them have not always been positive. So out of that kind of life, I've had to really look for positive things to be excited about. And I remember one particular instance that had happened, and it was not awesome. I'll just tell you that. But it really made me stop in my tracks and really think about the life that I wanted to create going forward for my own children. And from that point, I even remember thinking of the term motivational speaker. I wanted kids my age or adults or whoever going through hard times really know that there could be positive at the end of a storm. And that's something that really sticks with me. I think many people know I've always wanted to be a motivational speaker, but to think back to actually when it started, it wasn't in the stories that I'll share with you today. It actually started as a young woman, probably younger than 13.
Wow. That is a young age to think about wanting to be a motivational speaker. Can you tell us about a specific moment or experience where you felt you made a positive impact on someone's life?
Yeah, so I mentioned a little bit just a second ago about always kind of having this knack for being positive or being optimistic. I often have said I'm an incurable optimist. So one healthcare experience that I had was when I was 16. And it was very scary. It was very scary for my family. It was very scary for me. But I actually broke my neck, and I broke one of my ankles. And I ended up being in I would say, a life-threatening event where it was suspected that maybe I don't live, but I also might be paralyzed. And thankfully, for a wonderful care team I had, and the love and support of my family, but also faith, I ended up walking away. And most people would not know that I had this experience at the age of 16 because there's no significant sites that can be seen, no significant issues or delays or anything like that from that accident. But I remember being in that hospital And there were two other gals that had something similar happen to them around the same time frame. One ended up being in a halo. One of them was in a full body cast, because those are the treatment methods that we have to preserve, I guess, the spine, especially for young women. And I remember at the time, my care team actually wheeled me on my hospital bed to a place where these young women were. And my job, my task at that time was to inspire them. And it wasn't until much later in life that I actually kind of think back to that experience. And I think that's really when I started championing healthcare or things like that. And it's one of those experiences that I'm grateful for, really helping, and I mean, really helping young people see that they could get through this obstacle.
Wow, I had no idea. That's unbelievable. So how did you help them? Like, what did you say to them, or what did you do to help them?
I don't really remember what was said or anything. I do remember going down the hallway in what I presumed to be my hospital bed. But I'm sure I just was myself, like I probably talked to them and asked them questions and really just was a friend at the time. And it's something that I continue to do even through my most recent health experience, which is breast cancer. And I think as long as we continue to ask good questions of people, but also just check in with them, see how they're feeling, see what's going on in their life, is really something that has helped me heal some of these traumatic events that have happened. And I want to continue to be that person for the community at large.
That's awesome. I'm sure you had a huge positive influence on those other patients.
I hope so. I think, especially if you think about their injuries, and I know how they occurred in both of these girls, and to think about how scary that is. And I know for me, I had the threat of being paralyzed and being 16 years old and thinking about that. And what your future life would be like had to be a lot for them. So I'm grateful that the care teams that we had put us together.
Wow, I can't even imagine. Roxanne, can you share any strategies or initiatives that you've implemented to promote positivity and make a lasting impact on your personal or professional circles?
Yeah, so I think being diagnosed with an aggressive form of breast cancer as a young mom was something that really affected me. And I know, looking back on my own life, but also the life of, other family members, how traumatic a diagnosis can be. So, in order for me to move forward with my 1 year old, my 2 year old, my 6 year old, and my husband, I knew that however I experienced this diagnosis and treatment would be exactly how my kids and my family thought of cancer going forward. And I'll share a short story with you. When I was 21 years old, I lost my first family member, and I lost them to breast cancer. And it was something that had stuck with me forever, because I know the effect that disease has had on my entire family. So I'm actually a fourth generation cancer fighter, and I have had 7 first-degree relatives who have had the disease. But this one, like, you always remember the first person that you lost to something. And I know as an adult, and I knew back then, how absolutely beloved my aunt was. I mean, this happened 20 plus years ago, and still to this day, people know her and they talk about her and they remember her. And I know it had an impact on me, and I know how difficult it's been even for her kids and our additional family members for this loss. But prior to that, I knew that my grandmother had passed away from the disease. And obviously, growing up in the environment that I did, I now have an appreciation for how that illness affected the family even 2 generations back. And I cannot imagine being a young woman or child and have to go through this experience. And I wanted to tell you that story because I think if we know somebody, specifically within the cancer world, we always say, I always said, oh, my aunt had breast cancer, but she passed away, and I would do the same for my grandmother, just because it's a way of connecting with somebody that you're speaking to. And since I've been through this experience, what I've really tried to do and what my goal is to always honor those that we've lost. I want to pay tribute to those who are fighting so hard to beat this disease. But I also want the entire world to get to a point where we actually say, I know somebody who survived. I know this mom who survived and she's awesome. And I know this grandpa who really put up a good fight, but he won. And I hope one day none of us will have to have the experience where we lost somebody. But I definitely think that while we're going through this experience, for me, absolutely being a mom and having my kids know that I was fighting was really critical. And to kind of attach these stories, right? Like my mom has passed from cancer. My dad has passed from cancer. My aunt, my grandma, I knew that. And my kid, my oldest child, he was aware of that language. He knew that the reason why my mother had passed away was from cancer. Because kids ask, like, where's this person? Where's that person? And I say, oh, they passed away. And it's like, well, why? Oh, well, they had cancer, because I'm transparent. I wanted them to know. But then going through the experience, I needed him and my other 2 children and my family and my friends to believe that I was going to be cured. And I knew that if I was positive about it or optimistic about the experience, then it would be better for them. And I can tell you a whole bunch of stories that we did to make that happen. But that's my goal. My goal is to continue to pray that we get past mentioning that we know people who have passed away, although we always honor them. I hope there's a time where we talk about people who survived as well.
That's a great goal. And I hope that we get there too.
Yeah, it's really important.
So
I don't think that we should have to lose grandparents and aunts and uncles and kids and all this stuff to cancer. It's just heartbreaking.
It definitely is. Roxanne, how do you maintain your own sense of positivity and motivation, especially during challenging times like you've gone through, or if you're faced with negativity?
Oh my gosh, I think it's all about your circle of influence. I think the people that you're around are the feeders for that soul. You got to have people who pour into your love cup in order to provide that same love back to the community that you support. I will share with you that through my experience, I was very public about it and the highlights and the lowlights and everything, because I wanted really the community to see that I'm just a person. I'm just a mom out here trying to make it through. But I think having goals throughout that experience was really important, as well as having mini success parties for each stage of the adventure. And I know that sounds maybe crazy, but I think that especially when you're dealing with something so intimate, it's really important to have the opportunity to celebrate the victories. For example, Greg, I had 20 weeks of chemotherapy. When I made it halfway through what we call the Red Devil, it's a chemo drug that really is not very nice to play with. I celebrated at that halfway point. And when we were done with that regimen in totality, I celebrated again. And then as the weeks ticked on with the remaining cycles of chemo, I celebrated. And it was really important to do so.
I love that. Surrounding yourself by positive people to help keep you up is great advice, and really celebrating milestones in anything, whether it's a situation like you've gone through, it's, relationships, it's business. It's really important to celebrate those milestones. Keep you going. Roxanne, what message or words of encouragement would you like to share with our listeners who aspire to make a positive difference in the world?
Oh man, I don't even know where I could begin to answer this. I think we need more positive energy in the environment. I think there's a lot of challenges that people face. And oftentimes they go unmentioned or unnoticed. For me, I think the best thing I did for even my own mental health through my experience was being open. And I think I know that there's another guest who said you have to save space for people where they are. And I think that's true. I think we have to save space for where others are.
That's perfect. Thank you, Roxanne. Thank you so much for sharing your stories with us, your incredible journey that you've been through. Thank you for being so open. Thank you for having a positive influence on so many people. I am so grateful that you joined us today.
Me too. And, I think if you look at a large issue or even a large goal, it can be overwhelming. But if we chop it down into little segments, it's exactly what this is. And being positive and being optimistic can be challenging. But I think if you look at it hour by hour or day by day and just look at the people around you and how you can be a motivation to them or be a support to them is so important. And I think so many people have their own stories to tell. And it's possible they're not being asked, but it's also possible they're not in a place of sharing that. And I have a lot of stories I'm not able to share that have really shaped my life. I save space for those. And one day I know that they will positively affect people. But as far as today goes, I have one chapter of a book that I am really open about. And I think we all have the same.
I agree. Thank you for sharing that. To our listeners, if you want to get in touch with Roxanne, the best way to do so is through her Facebook and LinkedIn pages, which we'll put in the show notes. And thank you for tuning in to the Daily Influence. We hope that you found today's episode inspiring. I know I certainly did. And if you enjoyed it, please subscribe so you never miss an episode, and share it with your family, friends, coworkers, just to help spread that positivity. And we appreciate your support and look forward to sharing more stories of positivity and impact with you. Thanks for being part of our community. Have a great day. Bye-bye.